Seahawks Today coming up in just a few moments from right now. But before we do, I want to hear from you guys. Here's your chance to get on the show. You want a shout out? Well, give me a follow on Twitter and on Instagram at Tyler Jones Live. Would love to hear from you there. Screenshot a picture of today's show. Send it to me on either platform, and we'll show you some love on our next episode of Seahawks Today. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. On today's show, we will look at cut and trade candidates for the Seahawks as the June 1 cut date is fastly approaching. Let's go ahead and give you the summer outlook on the Seahawks as they are looking to make way of some sorts with just $13 million in cap space. If they want to bring in another player or two, if they need to make room for a DK Metcalf extension, they don't have a whole lot of money to work with right now. The team is still looking for help at the inside linebacker position as well as the quarterback and defensive tackle spots. This past draft, the Seahawks took 9 players, including 3 in the top 41. That includes Charles Cross, Boyd Mafe, and Kenneth Walker III. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and look at 6 players I have for you of names to keep in mind when it comes to cut and trade options for the Seahawks. And obviously you would prefer to trade these guys if you can, but here's what we're looking at. First player on the list, Chris Carson, running back. And if the Seahawks were to cut him at the June 1 date, they would save close to $5 million. And when you look at that running back position for the Seahawks right now, we mentioned Kenneth Walker, their second-round pick, as well as Rashad Penny as well. Chris Carson, his role, even if he is 100% healthy, is going to be somewhat limited in this Seahawks offense in 2022. So, with the opportunity to save money from Carson's contract and knowing that he's not going to be your feature back anymore, this is an easy decision. Sure, you would love to trade him, but the most likely outcome here is probably a cut involving Chris Carson here. Coming off that neck surgery and only playing in just a few games last year, I would be surprised if we see Chris Carson back in Seattle next year. Let's hear from you guys now. Should the Seahawks cut Chris Carson? Tell us in the comments section. Type Y for yes, type in for no if you think Seattle should move on from Chris Carson. You're about to get an ad break. Take advantage of it. While that ad's playing, get your votes in and tell us what you think the Seahawks should do with Chris Carson. Next name to watch is Gabe Jackson, the offensive guard. And this one would save a lot of moolah for the Seahawks, about $6 million to be exact. Jackson was acquired last season in a trade with the Raiders, and he has about 2 years remaining on his contract with an opt-out option available after this season. And you look at Gabe Jackson, I think this is one that certainly makes sense as well. With that money on the table and with the Seahawks just have limiting spending power here, this is $6 million you'd rather have in your pocket than I think paying Gabe Jackson at this point in time where he's at in his career. More names to give you in just a moment, but before we do, got to tell you about my guys at Fanatics. They have some fantastic gear that they are selling for Seahawk fans, and you can get them just in time for the summer, so you can get those hats looking good to keep that sweat off your face and such, and looking stylish as well. Up to 30% off at chatsports.com/Seahawks hats, and you can get the throwbacks, the camo, the current stuff, all sorts of options to make sure you are wearing the best in Seahawks hats and gear. Chatsports.com/Seahawks hats for 30% off. Another name, Jason Myers, the kicker at $4 million is what the Seahawks would trade. Highly doubt you'll be able to trade Jason Myers, but you look at the numbers last year, Myers was bad in those first 8 weeks, to put it mildly. Missed 4 out of 10 kicks in the first 8 weeks of 2021. He's got 1 more year remaining on his contract, and the Seahawks could save about $4 million if they were to move on from Jason Myers. Look, the special teams positions, kicker and punter, are the most replaceable positions in the entire NFL. I don't like drafting those guys. I don't like spending money on those guys, period. So, for Jason Myers, this is an easy call. Get rid of that $4 million contract and go sign some rookie somewhere for cheap. I don't care who it is. You will be fine. Trust me. You don't have to pay Jason Myers that money. So, easy call there, moving on from Jason Myers and his contract there. Way too much to be paying a kicker who underperformed last year on that front. Couple more names to get to in just a moment, but before we do, I need your help. I got a friend going to Seattle this weekend. It's his first visit, and he's wondering where he should grab a drink in Seattle. So, you know, whether it's a cup of coffee or whether it's a little alcohol in it, whatever it may be. I want to hear all the options from you guys, Seahawk fans. You know Seattle as well as anybody, so tell me in the comment section, what is the best place in Seattle to grab a drink? Let me know. Another name to watch is defensive tackle Poona Ford, who this option for the Chiefs, or for the Seahawks here, would save them about $5.26 million. And last year Poona Ford wasn't that great. Just 4.5 sacks in his 4 seasons in the National Football League at this point. He's not been anything special by any stretch. And so if you can save that $4.3 million, I think you'd be pretty pleased, and you can replace this position pretty easily. I know the draft's already passed and such, but with other options that are out there, with other teams that are going to be making their cuts as well, fill that position with a cheaper need. I think you'll be fine with Poona Ford there, moving on and saving that $5.3 million. So we've already saved some money. We've created some more cap space, but we still have more names to get to. But before we do, I want to make sure that you are subscribed to Seahawks Today. We are bringing you Seahawks coverage each and every day on the channel. And make sure those notifications are turned on as well. Subscribe now, youtube.com/SeahawksTV for Seahawks news, rumors, trades, free agency. We cover it all right here on Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. youtube.com/SeahawksTV. Another one for you, the fullback position, Nick Bellore, is owed $2.16 million this next year. And so you round that up, that's about 2.2 the Seahawks could save if they move on from Bellore. He's entering his 12th season in the NFL at this point. He's been a very good player, 2020 Pro Bowler, I might add. But with 1 year remaining on his contract, another replaceable position, especially with Bellore at his age at this point in time here. I like the idea of cutting that money on Bellore and moving on from his $2.2 million contract. Not a player that's going to have much trade value, but you can cut him and save some money there. So we've gotten 5 players so far. I got one more option for you, and that is edge rusher LJ Collier. Now, Collier is not going to save you that much money against the cap, just a little under $1 million if you move on from him. But here's the deal. The Seahawks already declined Collier's 5th-year option. They have made it known they do not believe in Collier, that he is their future whatsoever. And Collier, quite frankly, would be lucky just to even make the 53-man roster when training camp comes around. So, with that being said, with knowing where Collier is at this point, with the money that would be owed to him, just $1 million off the table, if you could possibly trade him for anything, 6th-round pick, 7th-round pick, whatever you can to get him off the table, that'll help. Because here's the thing. You drafted Boy Mafe in the 2nd round, and Boy, I think, is immediately going to be in contention to be a starter. Why would you have another body in the way that you don't believe in anyway in LJ Collier at this point? So for me, that would be what I would do. I would look to see if you can find a trade candidate for LJ Collier. If he's still on your roster, it doesn't hurt you too much with him making less than $1 million, but still somebody to keep in mind with Collier there. So we've gone through 6 names here, but I want to hear from you guys. Who should the Seahawks cut? Look, there's not enough room for everybody here. The Seahawks have 90 guys on the roster, but at the end of the day, when the season starts, there's only going to be 53. So tell me in the comment section, who is a name the Seahawks should cut? Maybe it's one of these 6 guys. Maybe it's somebody else. So let me know in the comments who you think the Seahawks should cut. So to a recap, let's go through these names one more time. Chris Carson at running back at 4.96, just under $5 million. Offensive guard Gabe Jackson at $6 million. Kicker Jason Myers at $4 million. Defensive tackle Poona Ford at $5.26 million. Fullback Nick Bellore at $2.16 and edge rusher LJ Collier at just under $1 million. So, with these cuts, the Seahawks save a grand total of $23 million against the cap. You move on from 6 players, all of a sudden you have that much more cap space to spend. And this team's already got $44 million in dead money that they're spending this year. So if you can have that extra $23 million, whether that gives you more flexibility when it comes to DK Metcalf's extension, or if you were to trade for a quarterback or some sorts, whatever it may be, that $23 million is worth it rather than keeping those 6 guys on the roster, if you ask me.